think that's everybody. Greetings, everybody. Hi, I'm still actually recovering from the Game Developers Conference. My name is Dave Schwartz. Hopefully you've seen some of the recordings, especially with Lindsay and I were just talking about the one where I was mostly talking to myself. No, people watched it. I gotta see if there are any comments like, oh my Lord, what was he talking about? Well, thanks for the this current session about co-ops and so forth. Let's see. Lindsay did a great job. I'm still director for the School of Interactive Games and Media. Lots and lots of interviewing going on. We're actually bringing in, I can't do this job forever. RIT has term limits and there's not much time left. So we're looking at another director candidate. So I don't know, we'll see how that plays out. But for now, co-ops. So we've got Nan over there on my left. And let's see, Heather couldn't make this one, right? There's just Nan. Okay. Teresa from advising. There's Lindsay who set this up. And then so according to agenda, we start with career services, tips and tricks, and then then introduce the student panel. Go that way?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
works.
Go for it, Nan.
I'm going to share my screen, Lindsay. So I only have 3 slides, you guys, don't panic. I know some people get like agita when they see, slide presentation. And plus, I know like half of you that are on tonight, so you know what I do. But I'm going to share this. And I'll talk briefly about career services, if you aren't aware. Which hopefully you are. So career services, we're in the Bausch and Lomb building here at RIT, right next to Magic Studios. And we do a ton of stuff. And this is not even a portion of it because there's also a lot of other side things as a result of this. But basically we help you with resume writing. We can look at your resume and give you some suggestions. We'll help you with cover letters and kind of the way you want to tailor your resume and your cover letters to specific jobs. We are your resource for co-ops. I wish we had a list we could hand to you, but we don't. So we support you in all your efforts to look for one. We've got, as you know, Career Connect, which is where we have our jobs. And you'll hear us talk about all kinds of job portals like LinkedIn and Indeed and Handshake. All of those things are resources that we can let you know about and help you work through it. We also do information sessions. That's when companies come to campus or they Zoom in to tell you who they are and what they are hiring for. And a couple of you guys were on Iron Galaxy like 5 minutes ago. So you're dedicating your life to co-op tonight, I see. Great session. You learned so much about the company. You can ask questions. It's just a really nice one-on-one way to network with companies that you're interested in. We also do workshops, like we can work on your interviewing skills. We, as I mentioned, do resumes, but there's other things like building your confidence, talking about imposter syndrome. You can see all of those workshops in Career Connect. If you're interested in attending one, all you do is sign up. Again, we are your job resource for co-ops and permanent jobs. So the Career Connect is our portal. We used to do Handshake. If you're old enough to remember that, it wasn't too long ago, but we switched to Career Connect and we have a lot more jobs and companies that we support in there.
Or if there's anyone who came back from, been here for a long time, Job Zone.
Job Zone. Ooh.
Job Zone. I'm dating myself. Okay.
Yes, you are. We do career fairs, and I know there was a lot of talk about, well, where do game design students find and talk to companies during the career fairs? There's nothing there for me. There's been a lot of talk about career fairs. So we are revamping our career fairs this year. We will have one in the fall and the spring, and we will also do creative industry days, which is especially geared toward you guys. Because you are a creative industry in addition to a technical industry. So we're looking at just totally redoing that kind of a platform for career fairs. So just stay tuned. Big thing, like I was telling you, you can make individual appointments with your coordinator, and I am your coordinator. And we also, especially lately, have been talking about some challenges that people are having in their co-ops. So if you ever have some questions maybe about how to best talk to your supervisor, or you're not having a good experience, that goes through our office as well. And we want to talk to you about that kind of stuff. So we do a lot of this for you. As I mentioned, I am your career coordinator if your last name starts with A through K. And Heather Roth is your career coordinator if your last name is L through Z. I'm not sure if you guys know, but every single college here at RIT has a coordinator. So if you ever come to our offices, I will show you about 35 offices that kind of loop around, and that makes up all of our services for all of you guys looking for co-ops and permanent jobs. We do have, as I mentioned, Bausch and Lomb, 8:30 to 4:30, but we do drop-in hours, and those are published in our newsletter. And I think Lindsay's been pretty good about publicizing for us as well. So you'll see that newsletter coming from Heather every Monday or Tuesday. And in that newsletter, drop-in hours, as well as our regular hours. We do have an office over in Golisano, across from Women in Computers. So that's usually staffed by somebody from our office, and you can drop in, get your resume approved, talk about some of the workshops, that kind of thing. So look out for our newsletter. That'll give you updates on jobs available and co-ops and more resources. Any questions? I only did 3 slides because I figured you're going to have questions, or we can hop right into the good stuff.
Yeah, what happens is, in fact, you mentioned the newsletter, there'll be more in there. Sometimes I wonder if students like, what does Schwartz do? So Lindsay gets a steady stream of stuff. I've just passed, things to Nan and Heather. I've got a stack of things from GDC, some leads from companies they have to sort through. So yeah, a lot comes my way, and generally they're not looking for me to leave. They're looking. So I try to make connections for students and then for research. So let's do intros here. I'm realizing that I'm not sure I remember everybody. It's like Lindsay, I need Lindsay's help on this one. We've got alumni and we've got ambassadors. I remember some folks here. I see Bryce, Ella, and then who am I missing?
And Shobit. So Ella and Bryce are alumni, and they were also ambassadors. And then Shobit is a current student, and he's an ambassador as well.
All right, thank you. And then from there, everyone knows Lindsay. Teresa's been with us now. Is it a year now?
It feels like it, but it was July.
Okay. All right. All right. Let's jump in. Let's see. So, what resources are there on campus to help students get a co-op?
Hey, Dave, can I interrupt you really quick?
Oh yeah.
Can each panelist, Ella, Bryce, and Shobit, just kind of talk about co-ops that they went on, because they all have a little bit different of experiences?
So scratch that question. Question 0. That question.
All right. I guess I'll go first. Hello guys. I'm Shobit. You can also call me Sho. I'm a 4th year. I'm a senior game design development student, and I'm graduating this fall. So I have 1 more semester left, so you can ask me questions the next semester too. I've done 2 co-ops. Both were Warner Brothers. It was 2020 and 2021, summer and fall. I have done that for a year now, and I was a technical designer, which basically means that I design and code the engine that they work on, and they work on Unity. So I basically make tools for the team. I contact the art team, be like, oh, how can I make your job easier? They'll be like, oh, if you have this button, it will do this and import that, and all the complicated stuff. They tell us. They think it's simple, but it's not. But that's my job right there, to make things simpler for them. So that's what technical designer does, and it's also called tools programming for people who have done it before. And I just launched my game, Pentagons Go V. So if you want to check out my game, it's called Pentagons Go V. It's like WEE. So it's just like a it's like a low-key meme. I want everyone to make a review and be like, Pentagons Go V. And I've gotten so many reviews like that. So I achieved that. I'm happy. All right, I've been going on for a while. Next.
I can go next. Hi, my name is Ella. I'm an NMID alum now. I graduated in May of 2021. And my first co-op was in between my second and third year. I worked as a UI developer at Bottom Line Technologies. And there I worked on a project helping with the website accessibility. And my second internship was in between my third and fourth year, and it was at IBM working as a software developer. So yeah, there I got to work with developers and designers and work directly on site, which is super awesome. And it led to a full-time job. So it was cool.
Hi, I'm Bryce. I'm a GDD alum, and I'm not gonna lie, I forgot what year I graduated until Ella said she was 2021, I was 2020. My first co-op was pretty standard. I did the ID Tech co-op. My job was to teach high school students about C++ and C# and Unity. And it was great for reinforcing skills and kind of helping younger students along a similar path to what I do. And then my second co-op was at RIT. I was partnered with the Magic Spell Studios on campus, and I worked on a mobile game with some friends for a summer. And they sponsored that production, and I was the lead for that project. So I got to work with what publishing was like, what was contracting like, how do you coordinate the different aspects of the game, that type of thing.
Thank you. Yeah, it was interesting while you were introducing, I was remembering. So one, back to the questions, what are some of the resources? Many of the students haven't realized that when you come out of the co-op preparation class, that's something I had started many, many years ago with career advisors that have moved on to other things, because there used to be this co-op, presentation, 1 hour or so, and it was just too much in too little time, and people weren't, remembering. So when you finish the class, those that are watching it, remember on my courses, there's this thing called Career Advice, IGM Career Advice. I'll put the link in chat. You still have to log on to my courses. So what happens is after you get out of the course, the updated notes, because things do change from now and then, you actually get access to everything, especially as we go. And, I had the GDC notes and whatnot. So that's one of the many places where you can actually get the updated information. Other sources where you get information. I guess start with Nan on that one.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I was busy reading. This is a great resource. So there's a lot of resources that I mentioned already, like Career Connect and LinkedIn. And on both of those, you want to create a profile if you haven't already. On LinkedIn in particular, they have this algorithm that if you have only like 5 connections, they're not going to disclose a lot of the positions that are open. So the more connections that you can make, the more information they're going to give to you. So LinkedIn is a really, really good place to look for positions. You can filter when you go for a job, you can filter by area, you can filter by type of job. So whether you're looking for permanent or a co-op, you can go by title. And now we see what Dave's been applying to.
Oh, my Lord.
Yeah.
Professor of psychology.
Yeah. Wow. Look at that.
Wow. Not
so much.
No, let's get rid of that. Recommended for me. Technical director of engineering.
Yeah. See, look at all these listings that are coming out. So yeah, this is a great place to do it. The other resource that you guys should really take advantage of is the alumni that are in your program or were in your program. If you go to the RIT page and you connect on, I'm reading what you're doing here. If you're in, LinkedIn, and you go to the RIT page, and you click on alumni, there's some fields there that you can fill out. Let's go to that page. I'll show you.
Okay.
This is really helpful. So the RIT page.
Alumni Association or?
No, just the official general page.
RIT.
I don't know why it's not giving that to you. Official.
I think it wants you to type out the full name. I think it wants you to put.
does.
Oh, there
wait,
it is. There it is. Oh my
Yeah,
Lord.
yeah, that's it.
Actually, it's glad you don't worry about it. In fact, whoever's watching this, hello. You got to fiddle around. Don't give up.
Yeah, definitely don't give
Actually,
up.
I like it when we sort of stumble around a little bit because, you know, hey, look at this. Stephen and 348 connections work here.
Yeah.
And Stephen. Anyway, alumni.
Yeah, so if you click on alumni, and then you can put in, and you can see where they live right here, which is kind of cool. But you can put in keywords by company and by year, whatever. And
Blizzard.
See, yeah, these are people who are at Blizzard. No.
Yeah. Look at this. Oh, Graham used to be in my long ago. I used to teach game design. Believe it or not, Graham was one of my students. He was fantastic, actually.
Yeah, this is an awesome resource,
I taught him well.
Well, I don't know. Blizzard.
As this director's dialogue ultimately devolves, Jackie Riley, she's very successful. Wow.
Yeah.
I recognize the names.
You guys, the students, just click on these people and connect with them. And, this is growing your network, which is really important. Click on connect.
Oh, Justin, DSA 2. Josh was in my DSA 1 class. I'm sorry, you connect.
Oh, that's okay. You can connect with somebody.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. I'm doing a trip down memory lane.
Luna. I know, I see that. There's Luna. Yeah. So when you're trying to network, guys, you would send a message through LinkedIn and just say, hey, I'm in the game design program. I'm a senior. I'd really love to hear more about your experience at Blizzard. And let me know if I can connect. I'm trying to grow my network. Very short, and we have templates for this. So email me if you want a template, but just a very short connection that you make could turn out to be a permanent job or a co-op. You guys you have in common that you graduated from this program, or you will be graduating from this program. And they're very responsive. I have to say, it's like a family here. And alumni love to keep in touch and stay in touch with current students. So, and Bryce might have something to say about that.
Yeah, I mean, the connections are the lifeblood of our industry. It's a very well-connected and close-knit community. So definitely feel free to reach out to people. Especially let them know, how you found them through RIT or whatever. So yeah, I definitely think that's good advice.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got some Bethesda folks. Oh,
yeah, so
Brian was one of my students.
You can filter by location. Let's say you can only work in Bethesda. Who's working in Bethesda, It's a great resource.
That's something. Yeah, I always forget. I always search for RIT and go, why can't I find it? Thank you. All right. Other sources or move on? Yeah, let's move to the next question. Those were on campus. Oh, by the way, as a shout out to those that are watching right now or those that are, seeing this after the fact, if you're an IGM student, it's okay. Connect with me. I would hope that you stay connected or, other faculty, because you'll make those connections like, oh, I heard Schwartz mention you and he spoke really fondly of you. It's like, oh, I'm interested in this, this, and this. And like any tips, any connections. The one thing you never do is ask them for a job, just ask for tips, advice, and so forth. All right, let's see. Question, is there anyone that can help with a resume?
Well, you guys should know the answer to that right now, right? That would be me. I can help. Dave probably can help. I mean, you have nothing else to do. And then you've got the IGM Career Advice page, which has all kinds of resources on forming a resume, creating it. There's examples in there. We encourage everyone to use action verbs like created, developed, collaborated. So there's some really good hints in there on how to word some of your projects. So this is a really good resource. We also Career Services page, we have a lot of the similar resources as well.
Yeah, RT career. Career.
Yeah,
Yeah.
career.
Yeah. The reason why I had magic up, I forgot there is, to answer the previous question. Nope. This is if you're applying for faculty position, career services and staff. There we go. And there's a lot of resources here.
Yeah.
Lots and lots of stuff here. So you can find a bunch of resources on this. The reason why I mentioned magic makers, a chance to do co-ops on campus. So that too. All right, let's move this over. All right, yeah, so resume advice. Let's see, how to prepare for an interview. Oh yeah, that's for the alumni and students, how did you prepare for the interview?
Oh, one thing I like to do for an interview is just kind of poke around on the company's website, see what I can find out and stuff, see what they're doing and what their goals are. And it does come up in an interview every once in a while where someone will ask like, oh, like what drew you to apply to this company? And that's always a good answer to have on hand.
For me, I think I really agree with a lot. Like you have to research on the company and you should know like the work they do, and also what you would gain from the company and what the company would gain from you. So like that's like one of the questions that I always think about. And I think it's really important to know that what I would gain and what the company would gain. And it should be mutual, you know? And that's what I focus in my interviews. And also I'd ask my professors and like, oh, like what if this comes up? Like, can you help me with this? And they probably have the answers to most of the questions. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely doing your research on the company. Also just getting some practice in ahead of time. HackerRank is really popular to do that with. I did a lot of practice through HackerRank. And also being able to kind of do mock interviews. If you can find somebody, a professor, a friend, somebody that will run through questions with you and make you kind of answer them on the fly. So, okay, if that question comes up, that's what I said before, but what I really wanted to say is this. So getting that in your head of what they might ask and then how you might adapt if they ask something that you're not prepared for.
Yeah, we do mock interviews as a workshop here as well. We do it pretty frequently, so all you have to do is sign up for that. Or like if you want to shoot me an email, some of you are my students, I do that with you as well. We can sit and talk about what would be a good answer, how would you practice. Practicing is really, really important, and you'll do much better if you can practice with someone.
And if you want a homegrown thing, so a number of years I've been working with students on co-op and so forth to just try to collect everything we could think of in terms of graphics, physics. The math section could be a little bit, better. There's some stuff in here that you were never even taught. There's a bunch of C++, Vulkan. It keeps going and going and going and many pages. I've had some students go, oh my Lord, wait a minute. Basically, we tried to unroll the entire major in one giant Google Doc. There are even, interview resources in here as well. So I'll put the link. It's actually kind of easy to remember. What you do is, so I'll hit Control V, that. bit.ly program games. It'll take you to a Google Doc. And it's one of my pet research projects, how to convert all this to, just better advertising, open source world and so forth. It's ginormous. And, it's one of the things on the side. So sometimes students like, whoa, wait a minute, hold on. This is kind of like everything, kind of. There's some sections that could use some fleshing out. Let's see, ambassadors, any other co-op tricks that you've used? Like, miss anything? All right.
The one thing, just real quick, Dave, a tip for you guys. You might want to ask your friends who have done a co-op already. Hey, where did where was it? Did you like your experience? Can you put in a good word for me? again, that's part of networking, but I know a lot of people have gotten co-ops that way. So especially if they did a good job on their co-op and they like her or him.
Yeah, for the folks here, it's not a slam on career fair. It's just for those that have gone through the process, career fair, websites, networking, what did you find was maybe more useful? Was it equally useful for those that have had at least one co-op, for those that have graduated? What did you find? The sort of mix of everything. Sometimes there's a lot of advice. Who wants to grab that first?
I'll take it. So personally, for me, career fair didn't bring a whole lot of connections, but it was really good for getting used to talking to professionals. Because you're in a scenario where you don't have a lot of time and you need to learn how to sell yourself. That's kind of like a mini interview in itself. Sometimes companies will be wary of hiring a game dev over a pure software developer, but you have to realize that you have a lot of experience that can be really useful that pure software developers won't have. So a quick example off the top of my head that you could really use to sell yourself is user experience. That's something that you have to know doing game development or new media development, is how the end user is going to respond. That's not always something software developers can capitalize on. So learning what your strengths are and how to sell those in a short amount of time is really, really helpful, if nothing else. I found that mostly networking and independent research through a couple of key websites was where I found my job listings.
Did you do game dev map?
So I actually did a few. I'm thinking mostly about like my most recent job that I got, not so much co-ops. But I used, I actually have a list right here. I used workwithindies.com is a great one, gamedevjobs.io, and then your usual LinkedIn and just Google and Handshake is an option as well.
Sort of a shout out back for students, current students, like as we learn these things, we put them into the career shell because it's hard to keep up with all this.
And I'm dropping those two websites that I listed at the beginning in chat.
Speaking of career services, Heather Roth has joined us. Hi, Heather. Did others have successful strategies? Like what worked for you in terms of the co-op hunt?
Yeah, so I definitely agree with Bryce about just getting that practice of interviewing during the career fair. I was lucky enough that I did manage to get an interview and a co-op through the career fair, but for my second internship, I went straight to the company's website and looked at internships there. And that was also really helpful because it kind of gives them a direct line and you get right into the HR instead of having to go through a certain other website.
Let's see. I have a list of questions here. Now, one of the things that comes up a lot, it's in the standard list. I want to get a job. I want to get a co-op at a game company. I'm going to start with this one myself. One of these days, I should just have my Dave's favorite links, Dave's favorite pictures. Dan and Heather have probably heard the same stories over and over again. I often go with the bullseye thing. So picture, like, I was terrible at darts. I wasn't terribly good at archery, but okay. So bullseye, there's the thing that you want to do the most. And then there are these concentric rings outside it, and so forth. I often recommend to people that it's a real honest conversation, figure out what do you want to do the most and have that in there. And then to research the things that are like it, that are like it, that are like it. So basically, maybe it's Bethesda, Blizzard, Rockstar, so forth. And then maybe other game companies, maybe mobile, maybe sports games, maybe educational games, simulation, visualization, interaction, software enterprise. And to, like investing, not spend all your time maybe in the center, but spread your portfolio. Portfolio of where you send resumes. Invest in each layer. That's one approach. Because often in that center for the game companies, everybody else is going for it. So on one hand, getting that coveted job, you're going after, I've asked Blizzard about this before in person and said, all right, and it is in the tune of thousands. However, you saw the number of RIT alumni that have gotten it. So it means, yes, maybe 10,000 people are applying for one co-op, but RIT students do get it. So we're making the cut. So you don't know who amongst that class is going to get it. So it's worth doing, but knowing that, okay, 1 out of 100 IGM students gets that job, 99 aren't, at which point, well, okay, what are those 99 other things that you could possibly do? So it's not that you can't get the game job, it's to just, have redefine your notion of success, have an expansive collection. That being said, I'm wondering if there are those here that say, all right, you do have some tips or strategies on landing that first game job, co-op or full-time. Is there some strategy here that you think might work, or something that was
I can take
successful?
that one.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So my first co-op was my first and second co-op both were like game aspect co-ops, and I had no experience going in, and the company was big as Warner Brothers, so I had like no expectations. So as you said, we have this like this bullseye thing, right? Like my bullseye is that okay, I'll eventually land a job in game dev, but I kept it open. I applied to software engineering, UI, UX. I applied to everything that connects to my skills. I applied to, I think, 25 co-ops. And this was the least expected one that I got. And my manager told me after I was done with my co-op that he basically hired me because I said everything honestly. I said that I don't have any experience. It was a tools programmer um, job description, and I was like, Joe, I don't know what this is about. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I don't know what you're saying. I didn't even know how you can make menus in Unity, and that was my job, like extending the editor. But I had no clue, and I was like, I have experience in Unity and C Sharp, and I have the potential to do it. And if you give me some guide and advices, I'll do it. And he said we took the risk, and we were happy with you. Like he was just like happy that I answered honestly, and he said they hate people who would just be like, oh yeah, like I know that, yeah, this happens like this and that, um, and they just like hate that agreeing kind of communication, and they just like liked while I was being honest, like it's okay to not know. That's the biggest thing that I found useful. Um, but yeah.
Yeah, no, thank you. If there are any new media students watching, it's like, oh, here go games again. New media students, I haven't forgotten about you. Interactive developer, web developer, interaction designer. You may have heard me say creative developer. This is a real job. It's kind of like the game design of the new media industry. It's very competitive. Junior creative developer. Same idea, same advice. I think maybe the opportunities are a little bit more, though it's not often you'll see the words new media in a job description, but just sort of put that out there. Yeah, any other successful strategies from those that said, yeah, there's something I did that seemed to work?
Yeah, I mean, just in general in the tech industry, completely agree with everything that was just said, where willingness to learn is a huge deal, because you're never going to be like fully like prepared for these tech interviews. Every company has their own like lingo and their own databases that they use. So just being able to go into an interview and say, hey, maybe I don't know this fully, but I have experience and I'm willing to learn, that's a huge, like, that gives you a step up for sure.
Oh, I run once in a while. I run into this. I like resumes where skill. They have the bar charts to say how experienced I am. I have seen some people on resumes. It may have followed our advice too closely. Oh, I'm an expert at C++, or I've got a significant expertise. The reality is, with not even me, a bunch of us. It's if you've been hammering away as a gameplay engineer for 20 years. There is no student coming out that is going to be an expert. So, not over-representing yourself to say, here's where I feel most comfortable, or here's where I put most of my effort. It's just the problem with resumes. It's like we're endlessly battling the English language. We don't have quite the right words for it. A bunch of us could come up with you can come up with any number of questions to stump somebody. My favorite one is, I leave this to the audience, think Java or C Sharp. Why is the word static called static? Moving on. It's my favorite question. It took me a while to figure that one out. Let's see, next one. Let's see. Oh yeah, so I kind of hinted at this already with the bullseye thing. All right, let's say game company or new media industry isn't working in that first co-op or the second co-op or the full-time job. What do I do? Those of you who've looked at, Ellen mentioned that the career fair. What companies do you look at? How do you represent yourself? So alumni, ambassadors, go for it.
Yeah, I'll take it.
Okay.
So anything that does, at least for I'm going to speak specifically to game design. Anything that deals with simulations is going to be still within your wheelhouse. Definitely something you should be looking at. For example, medical field is huge. They want VR simulations of how to perform, complex operations without having to do it on a real person. Like that's a major thing, right? Because if you think about it, games are a specialized form of simulations just meant for entertainment. So medical field wants simulations. If you're okay with doing military stuff, military wants simulations and training tools for troops and such like that. I think I heard at one point that there was an offering from Tesla for a Unity position because it's a lot cheaper to crash virtual cars than real ones, right? So anything to do with simulations is definitely within your wheelhouse, and you'll get a lot of good experience from doing it.
Soft body physics from heart, skin, medical, scientific visualization. Stunning, isn't it? In fact, those that have wondered, why do I have to learn so much math? My case is you probably haven't learned enough math. You may want to consider some more math electives to be able to do this. Finite element.
Even in the criminal justice, they've got, they need the simulation of how a police officer is supposed to respond, for example, to certain incidents. And so they've got a whole bunch of training videos that they need game design people for, as well as architects, for example. Dave and I went to see an architect a few years ago, and they were designing the airport at that time, I think. So
yep,
they showed,
associates.
Yeah. They were showing a 3D version of that. So, you've got a lot of skills that are applicable to a lot of different areas.
In IGM alone, shout out for my, conflict of interest. It's not my own interest in geo games, but the world of geographic information systems. We have a series of GIS classes, and yeah, the faculty, they're not perfect. I mean, they were iSchool, IST classes for years, and now they're being mapped over into IGM. This thing called ArcGIS Pro, Esri, they out Google when it comes to maps. And they're building in full-on Unity and Unreal, connections. In fact, the team, we're actually meeting. Brian, me, and our co-ops are connecting with this team because the SDK has some interesting issues. There are amazing things out there. In fact, one of the things too, I don't usually get a chance to do a shout out for this. Those that want to be game designers, there's a field of study out there obsessed with rules, text, documents, and situations. Law. I keep waiting for more game design students to pursue a law degree. If you are a kick-butt game designer and you like writing and you can do technical specifications and you can zero in on situations and think about how people think, and you're obsessed with rules and implementing rules, there's a whole field of study where you could theoretically make a boatload of money, and it's law. And I can't be the only one ever think of this, law as game design. It's like this. And I'm not talking about patent law, intellectual property law. I'm talking about just law. And I keep wondering why more of our students don't go after that. And then, yeah, actually the connections about intellectual property, crypto, NFTs and so forth. There's all kinds of, there's all kinds of connections into the world of technology. There's a second thing too, teaching. What other field? You have to get your master's. You can't just become a teacher. You do have to actually get a master's in education. But imagine a job where you're making games for your students every single day. And with the skills that you get from a game program, I've asked some teachers years ago, and why not? And they said, they were actually kind of negative on it. And the reason was that they felt that they may actually be, the students coming out would be too good, make everyone else look bad because they could do their own programming, they could do their own analysis, they can make their own games for students. So will you take a pay cut? Probably. But will it be a good income? Yes. Imagine you could be a game designer your entire career. I've wondered why more of our students haven't considered that. Because of the appeal of other things. So there are many, many other things out there. And of course, there's always grad school, which is what I did. And I technically never left. So I always joke with people, about 1% of you will ultimately become me. If you ever go for the PhD, we need to have the talk. Let's see. This is sort of directed at Heather and Nan. Students ask this all the time. I'm confused. What do I need to do to get a co-op? Which classes is it? Where is this posted? Heather, you want to grab that one?
Sorry, I just got home, so I'm all in bad lighting. Prerequisite wise, you mean, like what class need before they can go out on co-op? Yeah, so it's the co-op preparation workshop. So it's a 7-week class. Nan has a section, I have a section, and it runs every fall and every spring. Not a terribly taxing class, but it kind of gets you through all the job strategies, resume writing, anything really related to your job search. But it's a 7-week 0 credit hour class, and you typically take it in the second year.
And which classes can a student just go on to co-op? And the answer is no.
No.
You gotta do something.
Right. You need to pass this class in order to get a co-op. I mean, we really go through in depth how to find a co-op and how to prepare you to be competitive against your peers and other people. So, it's, as Heather said, it's not a taxing class where you've got papers to write and whatnot. We actually help you create your resume, and we go through a variety of different strategies like interviewing and, how to write a cover letter, how to talk to people at the career fair. I mean, these are things you really need to have in order to strongly enter the co-op job market.
I'll put something out there. They're hacks to the system. I had a student once, again, believe it or not, I used to teach intro programming in the before days. And I had a student ask me, said, I was like full-time QA for electronic arts, EA. And you were in high school, just so like in between high school, college. So did it count? If that person got the co-op after fulfilling the requirements, yeah. So what we do is there's a co-op waiver form. There's forms for everything. Every university has a form. I don't know if the only form that doesn't exist is a form not to fill out forms. We should create that form. I feel it's like the super secret form. If I fill out this form, I never have to fill out another form. But it is possible to waive. I usually recommend do the co-op search as if that other one didn't exist. So you have that experience. That being said, if there is something that can be pieced together, there have been students who've worked part-time and part-time and part-time, said, it looks like I've added up these hours, like, would that count? Probably. Don't assume it counts. You can talk to Career Services. You can talk to Professor Oizon, Wees, our undergrad program coordinator, get pointed in a certain direction. So we're willing to be creative if you have been creative. And there is the entrepreneurial co-op over the summer, which is a sort of bailout clause. It's not perfect. Some students have leveraged that. And there are the occasional other hacks. I have a very long script I wrote. I'll keep it short. It used to be about rock polishing. It's now about rings. From rock polishing to silicone rings. Nan's heard this like a bazillion times.
I think I know this one.
Oh, it goes like so. The Rochester Lapidary Society is like we will have the biggest concentration of people in academia who know what rock polishing is. It's called lapidary. And it turns out, I don't know, they actually fixed the damn site. Rochester lapidary. So look at it, Google even knows I want it. There it is. They true, false. Oh, not that one.
Hang in there, guys. He's getting to it.
Oh, wow, look at this. Oh, we got some issues here. Yeah, they need some work here. So the newest one, forget lapidary, I'm on to ENSO rings. It goes like this. There's something wrong with this website. Besides that, the website is just kind of irritating. Let's see if I can find a good silicone rings. This is my ring, Legends here. It's mermaid. I really like the mermaid ring. There's really something wrong with it. There it is. Sorry, it takes me a little while to get there. What's wrong with it? I can't spin it around.
Doesn't spin.
You can't see your finger on it. And also, it's a little hard to tell. Watch the ring as my finger spins in the camera. It's iridescent. That ring on the website does not spin around. It doesn't glow. It doesn't shine. The students have learned how to use Unity and Unreal, which can do real-time ray tracing. So I did pitch this to one student. I said, you can find, it could be ENSO rings, it could be some other site. It turns out most product people don't know about real-time path tracing, real-time ray tracing, render farms, Unity, Unreal, spinning things around, apps. They're like, oh, if I had to do something fancy like that from a Marvel movie, I'd have to pay millions of dollars. No, if a student were to contact the company, here's a quick demo. I was looking at your website and I could actually show you something really fast about how much more awesome this can be. Let's talk. Insta co-op. And this is just, it used to be rock polishing, now it's ENSO rings. And I'm waiting for the student to say, why can't I spin that ring around? I don't think the company knows. And if they were to approach some, high-tech web company, they'd be charged a fortune. So students, you can actually create your own opportunity. And it's not just products. I often recommend to students, if there's something you feel passionate about, something out there. My wife is the executive director of a local nonprofit. It's just really hard to find talented people who are web developers are busy. So there are a lot of nonprofits out there. There's not a lot of money. They're desperate for help. And those that are in new media, this is incredible. That is your life. Those that are in games, it's not necessarily that you want to be a web developer, but the things that you can do on the website that are also interactive. You could go ahead and create a small app. They haven't even dreamed of this. And you might say, well, what do I pick? Well, then you turn the mirror on yourself and ask, what do I care about? What's important to me? Go find the organization that's important to you. And a co-op, it may not be a lot of money, but think of, and here's the way networking kicks in. You're not the only one who cares about whatever that is. So yeah, I think rock polishing is fascinating. So if I were to go, one day I will go to the Rochester Lapidary Society. Who knows what you may go to? You'll see people from everywhere who have that passion or that hobby. You will network with people who have connections that you haven't even dreamed of. And so I've been a little surprised. So usually when someone says, I can't find a co-op, and this is all written down. I have this all in an email. Yeah, it's about rock polishing. Nan's got a copy of it. I think I sent a copy to Heather.
Yeah.
Heather, I sent you a copy of that? So they're still here?
So.
Okay, I got to send that. Teresa, I have to send it. I'll put that down. So it's a long script and it just explains all the little steps on how to do this. And my dream was that someone would actually fix the Rochester Lapidary Society website. And no one did. Then the next one is ENSO. So anyway, that's the long one there. Does anyone want to add to that?
I have
sort of new strategies.
I have a question if possible. For the requirements of co-op, and I think Teresa could maybe help answer this. Can you talk about like hours they need, length, if there's pay requirements as far as that go?
Yeah, so they're expected to be paid for their services because they're, they're hopefully valuable members of a company. 35 to 40 hours a week. So it's full time. That's why we encourage them not to take classes if possible. During the summer, it's 10 weeks. If they have to get one during one of the fall or spring semesters, then it's 12 weeks. Sometimes, there's double block options where they can do a spring and a fall, or like a summer and a fall, or a spring and a summer. There's lots of different ways. And I think Dave alluded to earlier, like there's been times when people have pieced together a few part-time co-ops, but generally 10 weeks, if it equals around 10 weeks for summer and 12 weeks during the school year, then they should be good to go.
Oh my Lord, I found the email. Can you do a double block? Alumni students, did you do 2 co-ops at the same place? Anybody?
I did it.
What was it like? Was it like
Um,
offered all at once, or did you like, how did it play out?
It was either I do double block or no co-op. So I was like, well, I just gotta do it. It was because I mean their reasoning was good, that they said that it will probably take like a block to understand our work, and then you will probably do our work in the next block, and which I totally get, because it was a lot of like things to understand. But the experience was really good. I think six-month co-op is so much better than 3-month co-op, because you get the more immersive environment at the company, and I feel like 3 months would be too short to get the feeling out of like, oh, you were in a co-op and now you're back at classes in like 3 months. So
Yeah, it's there is this notion that if you get offered something and it's good, oh, I remember this one. I've had students ask me this. There is an advantage to getting 2 co-ops early if you can. It's not like I'm going to go get 2 co-ops, and it may happen, it may not, but I'd say go for it, especially if it can happen like sophomore year. And you might say it's going to throw me off the schedule, and maybe I don't want those 2 used up. Here's my reasoning. You can get back on schedule. You're not paying for tuition while on co-op, so you're not really off schedule. We have some summer classes, and the advantage is, remember that bullseye thing? Once you got those 2 co-ops, you're safe. The hell with the bullseye. Just go through the center on co-op number 3. Go for a 3rd co-op if you don't have to worry about co-op. What the hell, why not? You can pour everything you want into, 2 or 3 companies, and that sort of 1 out of 1,000, 1 out of 100 might become 1 out of 10. So there is a huge advantage than maybe getting that double co-op site. Yeah, I'm doing web dev for this thing. I'm doing some enterprise software, or maybe I'm doing something a little closer in like educational software. You can land that early. It is well worth your time. And it's also posted on the website. Can you take a class while on co-op? Yeah. And now that we have more, not that the pandemic was great, it was horrible, and it is still horrible, but there were a few weird, interesting things that showed up. The fact, a few more online classes. So maybe there's a DSA 2 that was lingering, or maybe there's a course that's a prereq for something else you want to do, that like, oh, wait a minute, I could do that. And you could actually sort of get yourself ahead on the next schedule if you take that one class that's, perhaps there holding you back. So there is a weird advantage to doing that double co-op. And it's kind of funny. We've had once in a while someone says, hey, could I do a 4th co-op? Teresa, have you run into that one yet?
I haven't, but I know one of the other advisors recently has, and yeah,
And the answer is
the answer is no. I mean, it's probably time to spread your wings and fly at that point, I guess.
at that point, something else is going on. Lingering in school is called going to grad school, which is what I did. Not a 4th co-op. Let's see, Nan. Oh yeah, students, do you have questions before moving on? Those that are watching in attendance, or for the guests that are helping out, something that you wanted to get to that maybe we haven't gone to. All right. I saw in chat someone, oh yeah. Not interested in the lapidary stuff, about to post a file.
Yeah.
Lapidary. Oh, for those, are there any tech artists in here? Who's tech art leaning? Anybody? Physically based rendering. That materials. So in the world of geology and in the world of materials in art, it's just finding that connection is really interesting. It turns out to be an extraordinarily difficult problem, going from identifying a material as opposed to reproducing the material. It turns out to be an extraordinarily mathematical and computational problem. So anyway, let's see, double block, how to report the co-op. How do you report your co-op?
So there's if you go to the Career Services website and you click on co-op, it says report my co-op, and you're going to need the name of your supervisor, your start date, your salary or your hourly wage, and a little bit of a description. And then you click done. And then someone like Teresa says, oh, we got to register an SIS. So it's a well-oiled machine. Typically, if you report your co-op, you'll get other things taken care of.
And the key is to report it as soon as you can, because Heather has been working with me this semester gratefully with some students who were like, I've done it, or, you know, I already did one, or I'm in the middle of another one, and I just didn't get around to reporting. And it's so much easier just to do it when you get it rather than have to go back retroactively. So that's important too.
And then for alumni, ambassadors and so forth, when you're on co-op, what was that first day like? What was first day, first week, first month? Anyone grab that?
Yeah, for my first co-op, it was crazy. Like it's a whirlwind for sure. But it's also very exciting, and getting to code and getting used to the company and all that. It's exciting. It's a lot, but it's exciting and it's worth it.
That others?
For me, it was like kind of overwhelming. I got introduced to so many people in the meeting, and unfortunately Monday was my starting day and Monday was their meeting day. So I was like, my report is I don't know, I just joined and everybody was laughing. It was such an amazing environment. And it took like 3 or 4 hours to set up the computer. They sent me like a whole setup, and I was like, okay, what is going on? Then they called me, the IT engineer, be like, okay, you gotta do this now. Install Unity. This is the product key, and it was just like installing everything and talking to people. And I got paid for 8 hours. It was like awesome. Um, but it was overwhelming. Definitely, it was good though.
You know, one of the things that we can't really prepare you guys for is what you're just saying, and that's the culture of the company. You know, we talk about it's important that you fit in the culture of the company, but what is that? And you know, if Sho had a meeting and he felt free enough to say, I don't know, it's my first day, sorry guys, I don't have anything to report, and everyone laughed, that tells you there's some casual interaction happening, that they understand where you're at. So the culture of the company is probably the first exposure you will have to trying to be aware when you go into new situations, especially for full-time jobs. It's got to feel right, and it's got to be right for you, but that's a learning too.
Is there anything that that you're willing to admit, anybody here, that you wish you hadn't done? Like something you had said or an email that you sent, or you could tell your past self something.
This is a precursor to another story, I feel.
No, actually, just popped in my head. I don't think I've ever asked that. We have this exercise in the co-op workshop, which is like, you know, weed is legal in Colorado. What, you're on the job the first week, what, I forget exactly how it goes. Or, hey, there's somebody in the office, like, I think I'm gonna date that person. Like, hold on. So I'm wondering about other things that, like, out there in the real world, what did you encounter?
one thing, it didn't happen to me, but it happened to a fellow intern at my company. She broke the build at one point, and it happens. It happens pretty frequently. Everyone at the company was like, it's no big deal. It's okay. We were kind of waiting to see how long it would take you to do this because
Oh,
it
boy.
happens. So yeah, don't be afraid if you do that. It happens. It's totally okay. And everyone there was quick to resolve it. And it was a good laugh for the rest of the internship.
Others that anyone, oh, go for it.
Yeah, I had a similar one where I broke the build. And unfortunately the code review went through and it broke the developer branch. So like nobody could work for I think a day, and everybody was just like laughing and was like, Joel, what did you do? I was like, I have no clue. Everything looks fine because, and my code reviewer was also like, I think everything looks fine, and there was just like small mistakes somewhere adding to the arrays and stuff. Anyways, and me and my manager, we were just on another level. He was just like, oh, so you got a girlfriend? How is she? And like I was like, pretty good. How's your family? And we were just like on these terms, and I was like, that is pretty cool. And I was just talking to him. This is so weird. I was like, okay, I like this game Hades, and like, but like it's expensive. It's $20, and he's like, we pay you. Like, what do we pay you for? I'm like, I'm saving for a car, and he was like, all right, go check your Steam account. And then he just gifted me. I was like,
Oh my God.
well, nice, cool, thank you, Joe. What an amazing person. We always talk about like how his kids are doing in school, and he's like a family now. It's awesome. What an amazing person. But yeah.
Yeah, my co-op experience, I didn't have co-ops per se. I had an intern, I had summer job where very different field, civil engineering. I shut down an entire construction project. So I was taught, so I learned how to mix concrete. So your director knows a lot about cement and concrete. I'm still amazed. How the hell did I get this job now? But whatever. So, and I was taught you mix cement with fresh water, and they were pumping in Oswego River, which is green with slime, to mix the cement. And I come on the job and like, no, you can't do this. And so imagine I'm like what, 22, 21, 22 years old, and I shut down an entire construction operation. Because that's what my professors told me to do. And I had my boss said, well, look, we explained it. And as time went on, it turned out the rebar wasn't sticking, and said, yeah, Dave, you know how we sort of yelled at you? You were right. And the contractor ended up shipping in fresh water. So very different experience than breaking the build. Though we had a physical build. I realized that Nan hasn't seen this, Heather hasn't also. I have pictures from when I was effectively what you would think of as co-op, me on a construction site with my hard hat. So someday I'll show the pictures. Yeah. I still have on the hard hat. It's downstairs right now. I'm actually using it in the house because it's like, oh, that's the other thing I learned from, co-op story. So don't kill your coworkers. So we're on Oswego River on a motorboat, and I had to learn how to use this motorboat. And so we're chugging along towards, it's a spillway, is a sort of dam where the water goes over, doesn't hold. And so the boat's heading right to the edge of the spillway, and the motor just sputters out, stalls out. And we're heading to this thing. I almost, they saw the look in my eye. I was gonna jump over. What I hadn't realized, if I had jumped off the boat to save my ass, the key would have gone with me. And the entire crew would have gone shooting over the spillway. So thankfully they reached over and turned the motorboat on. I was like, I must have turned white. So moral of the story, when you're in co-op, don't do things that would kill your coworkers. It's a real story that actually happened.
Oh my God.
See, what happens during the co-op class, I would just regale with these stories. We would never get anything done. There would be nothing done.
I didn't have that on my slides, but maybe I should add that tip.
Right.
Your coworkers. Oh my God.
There's a reason you're not teaching this semester, Dave.
Oh my God. Oh my Lord.
Oh geez.
I know, sometimes I wonder, like, how did I end up as director? It's like, wow, that's just
Just a bevy of knowledge.
Yeah, actually connects to like, oh, there's a little bit of advice in there, which is stick to, you are taught things, hold to your values, but try to work the system. The other thing too, I've discovered is for those that had, the co-ops and whatnot, did the three of you have personal projects? What were some of those personal projects?
Oh, yeah, sure. So one of my personal project was the game that I recently launched, Pentagon's Go V. That was like my first ever project, and it just like defined like I know Unity and I can do stuff. My second project, it's called Save Earth. It's a city builder game. It basically entitles like pollution data, like real life data. So like if you build a house, if you have this much population, your pollution is gonna increase and your earth is gonna like start dying. So you have to like micromanage your earth into like not dying before it actually dies. So like you have to basically micromanage and optimize. You have to mine resources and stuff. It's just like a normal city builder game, but you can die like
Oh,
through pollution, basically. Yeah.
other personal projects?
I sort of did. I did a game jam. That was one of my big projects that I did outside of classes. And we ended up we had like 24 hours or something left in the game jam, and we had to start over from scratch. And we still managed to get second. And so that was a story I used all the time in my interviews. So that was one of the big projects I got to put on my
Yeah.
resume. I also had a project that I started in one of the prototyping classes and kind of continued for several classes afterwards. And that's what I took into that Magic Maker program with Magic Spell Studios. So that it was also kind of a personal project.
Yeah, Ella, did you have like something, a project that in addition to all the other work?
Yeah, I went to the brick hacks and I used those projects. We refined them after the competition was over and used those. In between my freshman and sophomore year, I did have a personal project. It was like a web app game that I named Boogie Worms. And it was just kind of like a cute little thing that was like really fun to show off to employers because they were having fun playing it. So, and it showed that I could code and do that stuff. So
Yeah, the reason why I'm asking, it's like, it's one of those things too, because when I was first starting to, I used to call it personal project or side project. And then I discovered from Jason Arena from Working Man and New Media Design, passion project. And so a whole bunch of us then copied that term. And there's all this stuff that you're doing. And my theory is that employers are used to seeing a lot of students with the similar stuff because it's the same homework assignment with the similar type of class project. So employers somewhere along the way got smart and realized, well, what's over here? Or, if a student could do this, cool. What if they did that? Or what if they did that? Upside is you stand out, you show that you can be individual. It's something to talk about in an interview. It helps you be distinctive. Downside is if you're spending, like chunk of time just getting by, and now you've got to do this other thing. It's like, I kind of get it because I realized that like people always said, well, how the hell did this failed civil engineer end up as director for IGM? What was the connection? And sitting back there, no one realizes it. Man, you haven't seen this. Heather, this is new too. I have a Japanese textbook. I published 2 books during my dissertation. They've been there the whole time. No one ever asked. It's hard to see. So there's this one's in Italian. So I've got different translations of my books. So I essentially did 3 PhDs simultaneously, which was unheard of. My hair, in fact, those of you, like I have a bald spot here, my hair used to come out in clumps. It would come out in clumps. So in grad school for about 2 to 3 years, I just did basically a PhD itself is a passion project. I did 3. That got me noticed by Cornell. So I'm a big advocate. I'm not asking people to drive themselves freaking crazy. I'm not asking people to do crunch, 7 days a week for 4 years. But if there's a window, if there's any energy in you, if there's something that you've got an idea for that could just like, I said, I had an opportunity to write 2 textbooks and get published. I said, the infamous, how hard could this be? And I did it. I had faculty coming to me and asking for advice on publishing. They called me the first tenured grad student. So students, I actually get what you're talking about. I had essentially 2 years, maybe 3 years of nonstop crunch. It was like publishing 3 games simultaneously. In this case, it was, my dissertation, 2 textbooks. It was like 3 PhDs. That got me noticed by Cornell, which made my career. So there is something to be said for a passion project, not 3 passion projects like I did, but 1 passion project, somehow squeezing it in, maybe putting something else aside, something. If you're, at some point it's like, it's not happening, just focus in on the main work. It's enough to get you a decent job. But if the time is in there, do it. And it's not me just telling you this. I lived this for a number of years. Cornell was 8 years of passion project because imagine a failed civil engineer now in Cornell computer science, like, oh my God. Then I thought, I'm not busy enough. Hey, Cornell, we ought to do robotics and we ought to do games. And like, well, you can't do both. All right, let's do games. So let's create a field of study that doesn't exist. Go. So for the students that are watching this, I actually get it, what a passion project can be. I really understand it. And it's probably been the secret of my success, that I get wired about something and I go crazy and do it. You'd be surprised how it gets you noticed. Just, I don't know, any other advice about these passion projects?
Yeah, I'll hop in. Definitely, and this helps with the motivation too. Definitely keep in mind why you're doing the project. If you're doing this project, there's something about it that is useful or enticing to you, right? So either you're trying to learn something or you're trying to explore something, and that can be useful not only for keeping up your motivation. Like I really need to do this to understand this to do what I want to do, or this genre is just so cool and it hasn't been explored and I want to do that more. But being able to communicate that to employers too, because they're going to ask, okay, you did this project. What was your thought process behind it? Why did you do this in particular and not something else? Being able to say your reasoning helps them understand you better, and it's a good look too. So.
Yeah, it's like, I remember Cornell had said that, some of our faculty, we take the best of the world. They come in maybe with 1 book. You came in with 2. They would have never talked to me otherwise. It opens doors in ways that you might imagine. Oh, and then as a connection to that, did the 3 of you submit to any competitions? Global Game Jam's kind of like it's not really a competition. Did you get something into a competition? Not necessarily winning.
The project that we did with Magic Maker, we did apply, and we did also do some Imagine RIT. That's not really like a competition, but
Yeah.
it's still kind of like a showcase. But we did apply to something, and that was interesting. We got judged and all that.
And what I usually tell students is the act of submitting something means you could finish something. Getting it, and then maybe it might win something, but even submitting something, you say, if you have on your resume, personal project or something, like submitted to such and such competition. Even if you didn't win, it's like, oh, they can actually finish something they started. That is a surprisingly important job skill. Let's see, I'm looking at 747. It's like, for those that are still with us, questions. I will, this is one of the reasons why sometimes I have to temper myself in class, like, oh my God, I can tell stories.
Maybe we can take 1 more question, Dave.
Yeah. We had, Lindsay did a great job coming up with questions. The biggest takeaway for, at your co-ops? Like the biggest lesson, I guess, from one or both of the co-ops?
I'll go. I think that it's really important to understand that there's sort of like an axis of people. There are people that they're on a range of technical skill from not as strong to really strong, but there's also people skills that go from not really strong to super strong. And a lot of people want to focus so hard, especially while they're trying to job prep, on that technical stuff, that they forget that they're going to be working with other people. They're working with a team. You can't, it's incredibly difficult to do this by yourself. There's only a handful of times it's ever been done and been really successful. So understand too that it's not just about what you can do on paper, but how you work with others and how you communicate with others. So be conscious of those skills and do what you can to develop those skills. There are classes already that you can be practicing that in, where you have to make projects as a team. And those people will remember how you communicated with them as well, and what kind of person you were like to work with. So that stuff follows you too. So be very mindful of that.
Other lessons? Oh yeah, go. Thank you.
Yeah, I totally agree with Bryce. One of the key takeaways from my co-op was like how like studios work, and like how a company works and what you have to follow. Like there's a particular way that you have to go through. You accept requests from Trello, you do it, shift it to something. And I think working in a team makes it really important for these companies, because you already know, like for example, software development companies, they want agile structure. For game companies, they will probably follow like Jira or Trello, like these organizing tools. And I feel like when it comes to bigger companies, there's interdisciplinary teams, which means that you have to work with people outside of your team department. You have to take in feedback. You will be critiqued by people who actually are not in your department. You will be like, well, you don't know anything about this work. How can you say that? But you have to take in the feedback, and you have to give them criticism back, and also take in whatever they say and improve. So the communication, professionalism is like two big things that I think I took away from my co-op, and it will go long way till you get a job, and hopefully with me too. So yeah.
Hello, big takeaway.
Yeah, I guess my biggest takeaway was like, okay, I can do this. Because I didn't start coding until like I came to RIT. So it was kind of very new and very like I took a risk doing this. It was not what I planned for my life at all. But like we were talking about earlier, the first week and even the first month is kind of just a whirlwind at the co-op experience. Like it's a lot. But at the end of it, when you're like, okay, like I'm putting up code, I'm putting up PRs, like, okay, I can do this. Like this is where I want to be. And that's really huge too.
Well, thank you. Yeah, but thanks for doing this. Thanks for listening to my stories. They're still whispers. I don't know if I had told anybody